So what did we do yesterday? Yesterday we finished our NPV, the basics of NPV, right? Okay. So what is NPV? NPV is PV of cash inflow minus PV of cash outflow. PV of cash inflow minus PV of cash outflow. Correct. What all comes under cash inflows? So for that we saw a specific format. Cash flow after tax, we will start with CFAT. Then comes our initial investment. Okay. So CFAT less initial investment. Correct. After that, less working capital. Okay. Add back recovery of working capital. Add back recovery of working capital. Then comes add salvage value, because salvage value will also be a cash inflow. Add salvage value. Okay. And then if there is tax, so less tax on salvage value. Correct. That will give me what? That will give me my net cash flows. That will give me my net cash flows. Okay. Into what I'll do, into discounting factor. That will give me what? That will give me PV of cash flows. And NPV equal to what? NPV equal to sum of PV of cash flows. Correct. This is what we did yesterday. Anyone has any doubt? Anyone has any doubt about NPV calculations from yesterday? If not, then we can move ahead. Then we can start the new concept. Yes or no? What happened? No doubt. Okay. Was there some confusion relating to the class? I don't know. You guys were talking in Malayalam, so I didn't understand what you guys were talking in the morning. Okay. What happened today? No one is that interactive today. You guys are bored or what? Anyway, I'll start with NPV with inflation. I'll start NPV with inflation. So when I talk about inflation, inflation means what? Inflated figures. Okay, considering each year's inflation, okay, that inflation can be in your sales value, or it can be in the cost, right? Okay, so when I do the figures without inflation, okay, when the figures do not contain inflated terms, those figures are called as what? Those figures are called as real terms, or we can call them as real cash flows. So real terms or real cash flows are what? Are my cash flows without any inflation. Okay, so real terms or real cash flows, these are my cash flows without any inflation. They are cash flows without any inflation. Okay, if they are not without any inflation, we can discount them with what? With your normal WACC, also called as real discounting factor, correct? So those are my real terms. But when we have cash flows inclusive of inflation, those are called as nominal cash flows. Correct. Real plus inflation equal to nominal method. Correct. So nominal terms, or we can call it as nominal cash flows. We can call them as nominal cash flows. So these are what? These are cash flows with inflation. Okay. So we are going to adjust inflation. We are going to adjust each year's inflation. So after adjusting each year's inflation, I'll get what? I'll get cash flows with inflation, also called as nominal cash flows. Okay, now comes the important part, guys. Now comes the important part. These cash flows, I have to discount them with a inflated rate. See here what I did, no inflation, so normal WACC. Okay, but here if cash flows are with inflation, then I have to discount them also with a inflated rate, which is also known as what? Nominal discounting factor. Okay, or nominal discounting rate. I'll call it as nominal discounting rate. So real discounting rate for real cash flows and nominal discounting rate for nominal cash flows. But we know real discounting rate means what? Real discounting rate means your normal WACC, or what we used to call it as cost of capital. That is what? That is my real discounting factor, real discounting rate. But nominal discounting rate is special rate. It is a special rate, correct? So we'll have to calculate that. So how will we calculate? 1 plus nominal discounting rate should be equal to what? Should be equal to 1 plus real discounting rate, okay, into 1 plus inflation rate. That will give me what? That will give me my nominal discounting rate. Okay, I'll repeat myself. This is very important. Now we are going to do NPV with inflation. Okay, so when I say cash flows are without any inflation adjustment, those are called as real cash flows. They should be discounted with real discounting rate, RDR. They should be discounted with real discounting rate, RDR. RDR is nothing but your normal WACC. But when cash flows are with inflation, so after adjusting each year's inflation, we have calculated cash flows. Now I need to discount them with a special rate. Okay, so that is called as nominal discounting rate. So we'll have to calculate nominal discounting rate. Okay, so what is the formula? 1 plus NDR. 1 plus NDR equal to what? 1 plus RDR into 1 plus inflation rate. Correct? And where inflation rate will be of special, will be of, sorry, it will be of general prices. That is your general price inflation rate. We will take it as our inflation. So 1 plus RDR into 1 plus inflation gives me what? Gives me 1 plus NDR. And this NDR I'll use for what? I'll use for discounting my nominal cash flows. I'll use for discounting my inflated cash flows. Okay, write it down. Write it down quickly. Okay, let us do a sum on that then. Okay, we'll do this sum. One plus M equal to 1 plus R into 1 plus I, correct? So 1 plus M means what? M means your nominal cash flows, or we can call it as monetary cash flows. So nominal cash flows, inflated cash flows, monetary cash flows, everything means the same. Everything means the same. Okay, so I'll send a sum on the WhatsApp group also, and I'll open it up here as well. Today it's raining heavily in Pune. So nice weather. So I've sent the some. It's still hot and humid there. Kochi is always hot, right? Whenever I have come to Kochi now, I have always sweated so much. Then after the lectures, I go to that Fort Kochi area and drink that kuluki. I used to love that kuluki thing. Kuluki, right? What they call it? Kuluki Sharbat, yeah. So some of your seniors, I don't think you might know them. 2-3 batch before, they took me to this Fort Kochi and they made me drink the kuluki. Okay, now coming back to our academics. So let us see this. Let us see this then. So now pay attention. Huh? Same NPV logic will do. Same NPV logic will do. I hope you guys remember working capital and taxation adjustments that we discussed yesterday. Working capital should always be incremental. Okay. Working capital should always be recovered. And when to write working capital, that will depend upon start of the year or end of the year. Correct? Then taxation, we have seen different types of adjustments. What were the adjustment? Tax set off, then tax shield was one adjustment, and tax in arrears was one adjustment. And now we are doing what? Now we are doing adjustment of inflation. Okay, let us do it then. Let us do this sum. Or will you guys try it? Should we do it together, or you guys will try it on your own? Together, okay. A company plans to invest. Okay, I'll do it together. A company plans to invest $7 million in a new product. Plans to invest $7 million means what? Initial investment. See, now you guys should put a habit that whenever you read the question, there only you should know what this term is going to mean. Okay. So now see how I am going to read the problem. Company plans to invest $7 million in a new product. So if I get the question paper, here only I'll underline and I'll write initial investment. Correct? Net contribution over the next 5 years is expected to be 4.2 million per annum in real terms. Real terms means what? Without inflation. Correct? Without inflation, it is how much? $4.2 million is the contribution. So I don't need to start the sum from sales. Correct? I don't need to start the sum from sales. I'll start from contribution, but just keep in mind the contribution are in real terms without inflation. They have given inflation for contribution. They have given below. How is the inflation for contribution? 8% per annum. Okay. And for how many years? For 5 years. Next, marketing expenditure of 1.4 million per annum will also be needed. Okay. Marketing expenditure 1.4 million per annum. So now if contribution is in real terms, your expenditure will also become in real terms. So even if they don't give, it will still be in real terms. Is this clear? Okay. So now marketing, they have given the inflation of marketing how much? 3% will be the inflation for marketing. So 1.4 million will increase by 3% every year. Next, expenditure of 1.3 million per annum will be required to replace existing asset. So that is an asset expenditure. Okay, asset expenditure, which will now be used on the project but are getting to the end of their useful life. Now see, the expenditure will be incurred at the start of each year. So we have expenditure for 5 years. They have given expenditure is 1.3 million per annum. So expenditure is for 5 years. But should we write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or should it be write in year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? The expenditure is at the start of each year. Start of each year means what? Year 1's expenditure, I'll write at the start of year 1 means end of year 0. So year 1's expenditure in year 0, and similarly year 5's expenditure in year 4. So instead of writing expenditure from year 1 to 5, I'll write expenditure from year 0 to 4. Understood? Start of each year. This is not working capital, Nitin. This is not working capital. This is a normal expenditure. This is a normal expenditure. Working capital they have given in the next line. Okay, this is a normal expenditure. That's why yesterday while telling you, I told you sometimes CFAT can come in year 0 as well. This is the example. Sometimes CFAT can come in year 0. Some expenses are at the start of the year, correct? So that will make my CFAT in year 0 as well. Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it. Don't worry. Okay. Next, additional investment in working capital. Now this is the working capital. This paragraph will talk about working capital. So third paragraph was normal expenditure. Third paragraph was normal expenditure. Fourth paragraph, additional investment in working capital equivalent to 10% of contribution. Okay, so contribution into 10% will give me what? Will give me working capital minus already invested, therefore net working capital. Okay, and this will also need to be in place at the start of each year. Again the same problem. So year one's working capital, I'll write where? I'll write year one's working capital in year 0. Okay, working capital will be released at the end of the project. Even if they had not given this line, we always remember that working capital should be released at the end of the project, correct? Then they have given contribution inflation 8%, marketing inflation 3%, asset, for that asset expenditure, asset inflation is 4%. And then they have given one more inflation, general price inflation 4.7%. Where will we use that general price inflation? Today only I told you. Where will we use that general price inflation? While calculating that NDR, 1 plus NDR equal to what? 1 plus RDR into 1 plus inflation, right? So that inflation is what? That inflation is nothing but general price level inflation. So real cost of capital is 6%. I don't want real cost of capital. Real cost of capital is for real cash flows. I want nominal cost of capital. So that also I will have to calculate. All cash flows are in real term and tax is at 10%. Okay. So now guys pay attention. Huh? In the entire problem, have they given anything about depreciation? In the entire problem, have they given anything about depreciation? So should I take depreciation or should I totally ignore depreciation? What should I do? Tell me in the group chat. Should I ignore depreciation or should I somehow calculate the depreciation? Are you guys able to hear me? So tell me, if you are able to hear me, tell me. The problem has nowhere mentioned about depreciation. So what should I do? Should I ignore depreciation or should I still calculate depreciation using a formula? Okay. So yes, we'll calculate. No, we cannot ignore depreciation. We'll have to calculate depreciation. Okay. Because like I said, whenever there is tax, there will be what? There will be depreciation adjustment. So even if problem does not give depreciation, I can still calculate depreciation. And what is the formula I use for depreciation? Original cost minus scrap value divided by estimated life of the asset. Correct? So even if depreciation is not given, I will use the formula original cost minus scrap value divided by estimated life of the asset. And I'll have to calculate depreciation. Okay. So required, forecast the free cash flows of the project and determine whether it is worthwhile using the NPV method. If NPV is positive, then what happened? We will accept the project. If NPV is negative, we will reject the project. Let us start then. I've sent this sum on the group. Meanwhile, I'll open up an Excel over here. Okay, let us start then. I think today something is wrong with you guys. Did someone shout on you? Any other professor shout on you? So I will do what? Particulars. Now I will have to calculate year 0 as well. So particulars year 0, how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Particulars year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then if we need 6 year, then we will have to calculate 6 year, but tax is not said to be in arrears, correct? Nowhere they have mentioned tax is in arrears, so we don't need the 6th year then. If tax was in arrear, we would have taken the 6th year as well. Okay. So first thing what I'll do, I'll calculate CFAT, correct? Then initial investment, working capital, and so on and so forth. So for calculating CFAT, should I start with sales or can I start directly with contribution? Here in the problem, net contribution is given, right? In the problem, net contribution is given. So I don't need to start with sales. I'll directly start with contribution. Okay. But now guys, pay attention. Guys, pay attention. What I'll do. Okay. The cash flows are given in real terms. Okay. Cash flows are given in real terms. So I'll have to calculate what? I'll calculate inflation and get those cash flows in nominal terms. Okay. So whatever they have given in the problem is in real terms. Whatever they have given in the problem is in the real terms. I'll have to inflate it. And get in the nominal terms. So I'll add one more column is your inflation. So insert entire column. Inflation rate. Correct. So real terms into inflation rate will give me inflated cash flows. Let us start now. So I'll not start with sales because contribution is directly given. How much they have given the contribution? 7 million. So let us write the amounts in thousands. Let us write the amounts in thousands. So 7 million will be what? 7,000 into 1,000. So contribution is 7 million, correct? Oh, sorry, contribution is not 7 million. Contribution is 4.2 million. So 4,200. Initial investment was 7 million. Correct. So contribution is 4,200. That is without inflation. What is the inflation rate of contribution? 8%. Inflation rate of contribution is 8%. Correct. So my contribution should start from year 1. So that will be what? 4,200 into 1.08 raised to 1. Correct. And drag it for the next 5 years. So I'll explain this once again. 4,200 was without inflation. So when I get my contribution in year 1, okay, my year 1 contribution will be what? 4,200 into 1 plus r upon 100 raised to n, right? So 1 plus r is what? 8%. 8% means what? 8 upon 100. So 0.08. So 1 plus 0.08, that gives me 1.08 raised to 1, raised to 2, raised to 3, raised to 4, raised to 5. So that gives me my contribution. Don't write contribution in year 0. Don't write it in year 0. You will start contribution from year 1. Okay, next. Contribution less expenses. Okay, let us write those expenses one by one. Okay, first, which expense they have given? Marketing expenditure. Marketing expenditure. How much is the marketing expenditure? 1.4 million, so 1400 thousands. Okay, and again this 1400 is in real terms, this 1400 is in real terms. And what is the inflation rate for marketing? Inflation rate for marketing is 3%. Inflation rate for marketing is 3%. Okay, so same logic, 1400 into 1 plus r upon 100, so 1 plus 3%, so 1.03 raised to 1 raised to 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, and this is an expenditure, so I'll write it in negative. What happened? Okay, so that is how I'll inflate my marketing expenditure. So contribution minus fixed cost, contribution minus fixed cost, right? So less fixed cost. Is it clear now? Okay, so contribution minus fixed cost will give me PBDIT. So contribution minus fixed cost, what is the first fixed cost? First fixed cost is marketing expenditure, that was 1400 without inflation. Add inflation of 3% each year. Now there is one more fixed cost. What is there? Expenditure of $1.3 million per annum will be required to replace existing assets which will now be used on the project, correct? And this expenditure will be incurred at the start of each year. So second will be your asset expenditure. Asset expenditure. Asset expenditure. How much is the asset expenditure? 1.3 million. So in thousands it will be 1300. Okay, and for asset expenditure I'll take the asset inflation rate. So what is the asset inflation rate? Asset inflation rate is 4%. It is 4%. 4%. But now guys pay attention. Huh? I'll not start the asset expenditure from year 1. I'll not start asset expenditure from year 1. Why? Because they had given in the problem. They had given in the problem that asset expenditure is what? It is at the start of each year. It is at the start of each year. So instead of from year 1, I'll have to do it from year 0. So this will be 1300 into 1.04 raised to 0, correct? Raised to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So anything raised to 0 will become 1. So 1300 into 1, it will remain 1300. It will remain 1300. And then just do it for 4 years. Don't do it for all 5 years. So instead of writing from year 1 to 5, instead of writing from year 1 to 5, we have written year 0 to 4. Instead of writing year 1 to 5, we have written from year 0 to year 4. Okay, done. So contribution minus fixed cost. Contribution minus fixed cost will give me what? Will give me my PBDIT. Will give me my PBDIT. Don't do it for these. Huh? only do for years. So that will be contribution correct, contribution minus marketing expenditure minus asset. So these are my PBDIT. These are my PBDIT. From PBDIT, what I'll deduct? From PBDIT, I'll deduct depreciation. Depreciation will be what? Original cost minus salvage value. Correct? Original cost minus salvage value divided by life, divided by the life of the asset, life of the project. So how much was the original cost? Original cost was initial investment becomes the cost of the asset. So company plans to invest 7 million in a new product. So that becomes my cost of the machinery. Correct. So 700,000 minus they have not given anything about salvage value. They have not given anything about salvage value. Salvage value is 0 divided by what is the life of the project? Life of the project is 5 years. Correct. So it is 1400 per annum. 1400 per annum for 5 years. That will be my depreciation. That will be my depreciation. Understood? Original cost is 7,000. 7 million, correct? 7 million means in thousands it will be 7,000 minus salvage value is 0 divided by life. Life means what? Life of the project. So life of the project is 5 years. So 7,000 by 5, 1400 every year. So that will give me what? That will give me my PBIT. And since there is no interest, PBIT itself will become my PBT. So that will be PBDIT minus depreciation. The project is completely equity financed. They have not given about that. They have not given about that, but we'll make an assumption because they have not given anything about debt and interest also, right? So company has not given us, sorry, the problem has not given us anything about debt. They have not given us anything about interest. So we are assuming that project is completely equity financed and there is no interest. So PBIT itself will become my PBT. PBIT will itself will become my PBT. Okay, done till PBT now. Till PBT everyone has done. So from PBT, what I'll deduct? Less tax. Tax is at what rate? In this problem, tax is not at 30%. Tax is only at 10%. Tax is at 10%. Correct. But again, the same logic. Now there is loss in year 0. Correct. So no income, no tax. Year 0, there is a loss, right? So no income, no tax. Year 1, what will happen? Entire 342 goes off here. Correct. Entire 342 goes off here. So let us write it over here. So loss is how much? Loss is 1300 is the loss. Okay. Year 1, entire profit of 342 is utilized. So remaining loss is how much? Remaining loss will be 1300 minus 342, 958. So year one, entire profit was in setting of the loss. So again, after setting of the profit, there is still loss. So no income, no tax. No income, no tax. Correct? Now, Year two also entire 607.4 will be what? Will be gone in that remaining loss. So 607.4. So still there is a remaining loss. How much is that? 958 minus 607.4. So here also entire profit has gone for loss. So no income, no tax. Correct. In year 3, what will happen? 898 is the profit minus how much is the remaining loss now? Remaining loss is only 350.6. Correct? So if you are understanding this, year 1 and 2, entire profits went in recovering of loss. So year 1 and 2, no profit, no tax. But year 3, what is the remaining loss? 1300 minus 342 minus 607. So remaining loss is 350.6. So year 3's profit was 898.6 minus 350.6. Correct? And that whole thing into 10% will be my tax. So my tax will be 898 minus remaining loss of 350 and that whole thing into tax of 10%. Okay. Year 4 and 5, I don't need to worry. Directly into 10% I can do. Directly into 10% I can do it. Correct? See if you understood the tax adjustment. See if everyone has understood the tax adjustment. Okay, yeah. So we'll go ahead now. So PBT minus tax will give me PAT. PBT minus tax will give me PAT. So PAT will be PBT minus tax. So that is my PAT. PAT add back depreciation. What was the depreciation? 1400 for 5 years. So PAT add back depreciation gives me what? Gives me my cash flows after tax. So PAT add back depreciation will give me my CFAT. See, so year 0 also we got CFAT now. Year 0 also we have got CFAT now. That's why I said CFAT can come in any year. CFAT can come in any year. Okay, done. Now, once we are done with CFAT, now we'll start our NPV problem, correct? So after CFAT, what I want? CFAT, then initial investment. Oops, not here. CFAT, then initial investment, then working capital, recovery of working capital, salvage value, tax on salvage value, but there is no salvage value and tax, correct? And therefore that will give me what? That will give me my net cash flow into discounting factor will give me PV of cash flow. Okay. So see if everyone has understood till CFAT, completed till CFAT, then I'll move forward further. Okay, yes. So now, initial investment. How much was the initial investment? Company plans to invest $7 million. So initial investment will be where? In year 0. So 7,000 will be in year 0 and that will be negative. Correct? Initial investment will be 7,000, that will be negative and that will be in year 0. Now working capital, will make a note. We'll make a note of working capital. Note 1. Don't do working capital directly. In the beginning, if you're not comfortable, make a working note for working capital. Okay, once you're confident enough, then you can do it. So working capital. Okay, so what is our formula for working capital? Working capital is what? Working capital required, correct? Working capital required minus already invested, therefore net working capital. That is how we do it. Okay, so working capital is what? Working capital required. How much is the requirement? Requirement is 10% of, what is the requirement? Additional investment in working capital is equivalent to 10% of contribution. Okay, so 10% of contribution So working capital was 10% of contribution. Okay, so I'll just write contribution over here. What was my contribution? The first figure that we had taken contribution. So my contributions were okay. These were my contributions for 5 years. These were my contributions for 5 years. Yes, I am going to upload the videos in YouTube. Don't worry. Okay. So working capital required will be what? 10% of contribution. So first year will be what? 4536 into 10%. Okay. Second year also 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. So these will be what? These will be my working capital required each year. Okay. In year 1, already invested is what? Already invested is 0. Nothing was invested in year 1. But in year 2, what is invested? 453 was invested. Correct. In year 3, 489 was invested. Year 4, 529 was already invested. And year 5, 571 was already invested. Therefore, net working capital will be what? Working capital required minus already invested. First, let us calculate the working capital. Then we'll paste it in start of each year. Okay. So first, let us just calculate the working capital. So my working capital is year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so these were my working capitals. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if you have got these answers, my actual working capitals will be 453.6, 36.2, 39.1, and so on and so forth. Okay, now these are from year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but working capital was at start of each year. Correct. So working capital was at start of each year. So we will not write 1 to 5. We will not write 1 to 5. Instead of that, what we'll write? We'll write from 0, 0 to 4. Correct. Working capital was start of each year. So we will not write it in year 1. Year 1's working capital, we should write it in year 0. Correct. So this was my year 0. This was my year 0. So my working capital is 453.6 in year 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So instead of writing working capital from year 1 to 5, I have written from year 0 to 4. Why? Because working capital was at the start of each year. Since working capital was at the start of each year. If you understood this. Okay. And how much recovery will do? Recovery of working capital will be what? Will be sum of all of these, will be sum of all of these, right? And that will be in which year? It is 0 to 4 is working capital, so that will be in year 5. Recovery of working capital will be in year 5. So in year 5, write down. Year 5 working capital is 617.11. Recovery is positive. Recovery is positive. Okay. See if you understood. So you have started with CFAT. We have started with CFAT. Initial investment. Working capital we have written from year 0 to 4 instead of year 1 to 5. And recovery of working capital we have written in year 5. And how this amount came? Recovery will be the total of all working capitals taken together. Recovery will be total of all working capitals taken together. Done. So recovery of working capital is done. That will be positive. Correct. There is no salvage value. No salvage value. So there is no tax on salvage value. So no salvage value, no tax on salvage value. Okay. Therefore, net cash flow will be what? So net cash flow will be sum of all of these. Net cash flow will be sum of all of these. Okay. Why this is coming out to positive? Okay, now it is correct. This will be my net cash flows. This will be my net cash flows before discounting, right? These are net cash flows before discounting. Okay, so now I have to multiply this with what? I have to multiply this with discounting factor. I have to multiply this with discounting factor. What is the discounting factor given in the problem? Real cost of capital is 6%, but I cannot take real cost of capital. Okay, real cost of capital means what? Without inflation. Okay, so I'll have to take what? I will have to take nominal cost of capital. I'll have to take nominal WACC. So again, working note for that, note 2. Again, working note for that, note 2. So note 2, nominal WACC. So what is the formula for that? 1 plus nominal discounting rate should be equal to what? 1 plus real discounting rate into 1 plus inflation rate. Correct? I had told this formula at the beginning of the lecture today. See, I'll explain this once again. My cash flows are inflated, my cash flows are inflated. If these are inflated, discounting factor should also be inflated. So real discounting factor into inflation will give me what? Will give me nominal discounting factor. So then 1 plus India are equal to, okay, what is the real discounting rate? 6%. Real discounting rate means real cost of capital. So that is 6%. So that will be what? 1 plus 6% means 0.06, correct? Into 1 plus inflation rate. So 1 plus, what is the inflation rate now? We cannot take contribution inflation rate, we cannot take marketing inflation rate, we cannot take asset inflation rate. So which inflation will take? 4.7, correct, general price inflation rate. So 4.7%, right? So 0.047. So 1 plus NDR should be equal to what? Should be equal to 1.06 into 1.047. Okay. So 1 plus NDR equal to, so 1 plus NDR equal to 1.100982, correct? But I don't want 1 plus NDR, I want NDR. So NDR equal to what? NDR equal to 1.1098 minus 1. This one will come over here and become negative. So NDR equal to what? NDR equal to 0.1098, or I can say what? Or I can say 10.98%. So that is say 11%, rounded off to 11%. So my WACC will be 11%. If you understood this part, then only we'll go ahead. So now take it with that date. Take it with, that rate 11%. So discounting factor at now what? At 11%. Correct. That will be what? That will be 1 divided by 1.11 raised to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. You can do it with the help of discounting table also. So my PV of cash flow will be what? Net cash flow into discounting factor. It will be net cash flow into discounting factor. So these are my final PVs. These are my final PV. So since I have got the final PV, what I'll do? I'll calculate my NPV. So NPV equal to sum of all of these. NPV will be the sum of all of these. Correct? And this is in thousands, right? So that will be 482,826,000. This NPV was in thousands, so that will be 482, $826,000. So NPV is positive. Since NPV is positive, company should accept the project. Correct? Since NPV is positive, company should accept the project. If you understood the entire problem. Okay, what is the doubt? Yes, Amal, tell me, what is the doubt? If contribution rate and marketing rate were given, then we have to specifically discount with that. Yes, correct. Because inflation is always, for every transaction it will be different. Sales will have different inflation, fixed cost will have different inflation, variable cost will have different inflation. No, so see, each year's contribution will be with that rate. Okay, don't discount it with that rate. So those contribution rates, correct, marketing rate and expenditure rate will be used to inflate the figures. Those rates are used to inflate the figures. Those rates are not for discounting. Okay, discounting is always done with what? With NDR, with nominal discounting rate. And for nominal discounting rate, we'll have to take what? We'll have to take general price inflation rate. Okay, so contribution rate, marketing rate is only given for inflated figures. That will not be used in calculation of WACC. For WACC, we'll always use general price level inflation rate. See if this is understood. Okay. So that is our NPV and inflation, NPV and inflation. Okay. Do you guys want to do one more problem on this, or should we go with the next concept? Next concept. Okay. I can give one problem on homework. I can give one problem for homework, inflation problem. And that inflation problem we can discuss tomorrow. Okay, what about tomorrow? Is there a class tomorrow? Or your college has given holiday? Yeah, what? No, what? We don't know. Okay. So just ask someone, ask on the WhatsApp group to someone, okay, who handles all of this. So till we finish our class, we'll get the answer about tomorrow. Every day is holiday now. Okay. So who is the class leader? Amal. Okay, any one of you, Vivek or Amal, any one of you. Okay, by what? The today's class is not over. Today's class is not over, huh? Okay. So should I save this and send it to you guys? Inflation. Should I save this Excel sheet and send it to you guys? Yes. Okay. So inflation, NPV with inflation, NPV with inflation. And I hope you guys are solving all of this in your notebook or Excel sheet, huh? Because we are not taking an actual class. Okay. So later on, you will find it very difficult to understand. So it is better that you guys write it on your own somewhere, either in your books or in your computer. Okay. So next thing, now let us come to the main part of your AFM. Okay. This is very, very important. Okay. This main part is very important. It is your foreign NPV. It is your foreign NPV. So today I'll not start a sum on foreign NPV. Huh? Today we'll only focus on what is the concept of foreign NPV. Okay. We are not going to start an actual sum. The basics of foreign NPV I'll cover today. Okay. And this is going to be very important. You guys have not studied this before. So I want everyone's full attention now. Okay. So even if you are sleepy, slap yourself. Don't slap others. Okay. Get up and we'll start with the foreign NPV concept. Okay. So foreign NPV, when will this occur? When my head office is in one country. My head office is in one country and my project has been undertaken in another country. Okay. So my head office is in one country. So for example, I have started my company in India, but one of my project I am going to start it in UK. So in this case, there will be what? There will be your foreign NPV. Correct? I'll tell you why. Because if your project is started in another country, then what happens? Your cash flows will be in foreign currency. Correct? Whereas your books of accounts are in home currency. Okay. So you need to convert what? You need to convert foreign currency to home currency. Correct? So, and pay attention, this you will have to do for all the years. So if the project is for 5 years, you'll have to convert for all 5 years. You'll have to convert it for all 5 years. See if you understood this first part. Okay. So transaction 1, or I can say adjustment 1. So the first adjustment will be convert your foreign currency to home currency. Convert your foreign currency to home currency. Because my project has been undertaken in another country, my cash flows will be in foreign currency, correct? And my books of accounts will be in home currency. So my functional currency is different and my presentation currency is different. So I need to convert foreign currency to home currency. Okay. So for that, I'll need what? I'll need a conversion rate. Okay. Now, since we are doing AFM, these guys will not give you the conversion rate. You guys will have to calculate the conversion rate. Okay. You guys will have to calculate conversion rate for each year. Okay. So let us see then. So adjustment number 1, I'll write down. Adjustment number 1 is your conversion. Okay. Adjustment number 1 is conversion. Okay. So for that, we need to understand how to calculate the conversion rate. Okay. So spot rate will be given. Spot rate means what? Spot rate means current rate will be given. Let us call it as S0. So spot rate, that is current rate, will be given, and you will have to calculate S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, whatever number of years you have, whatever number of years of project you have, that you will have to calculate. That has to be calculated. They will not give you this in the problem. They will only give you the current rate, that is S0. They will only give you the current spot rate. S0 will be given, and all other rates you guys will have to calculate. Okay, so how do you calculate? Yes, have you studied this before? How to calculate spot rate of the future? So current spot rate is given, this year spot rate is given, and I want to calculate spot rate of next year. So how do you do that? Not from translation gain, not from translation gain. Okay, so that will be S0, that is the spot rate of current year, into 1 plus inflation of counter country divided by 1 plus inflation of base country. So in this example, my counter country will be USA and my base country will be India. If I am having head office in India and my project has started in USA, correct? So inflation of USA divided by inflation of India. That will give me what? That will give me my spot rate of first year. Now, spot rate of second year will be simple. Will be spot rate of first year into the same thing. Okay. The spot rate of third year will be simple. It will be what? Spot rate of second year into the same thing. Okay, see if this understood. And so on and so on. So first adjustment you need to do in NPV. Okay, first adjustment you need to do in foreign NPV is understand that your presentation currency is different and your functional currency is different. That is, your books of accounts are maintained in different currency and your actual project cash flows are in different currency. Okay, so for that you need to have, okay, I'll write what is IB and what is IC. Okay, so for that you will need conversion rate for each year. You will need conversion rate for each year. Current year's conversion rate will be given. Okay, current year's conversion rate means spot rate will be given. Okay, and from spot rate you will have to calculate next year's rates. So where IC is equal to your inflation rate of counter country. IC is your inflation rate of counter country, and IB will be what? Your inflation rate of base country, that is home country. That will be your inflation rate of home country. So if you understood this, the first adjustment in foreign NPV, write it down somewhere. This is very important. Okay, this will not be given to you in the problem. The formula will also not be given, and S1, S2, S3, that is conversion rate for each year, will also not be given. So it is your job to have conversion rate of each year. Counter country does not mean head office country. Counter country means the country in which project has been undertaken. Foreign country. Okay, so counter country means foreign country. And base country means what? Base country means home country. Means your home country. Okay. BO is your books of accounts. So I'll just write in full form. Okay, clear till here? See if you guys are clear till here, then I'll proceed further. This is very important. Foreign NPV is very important. Section A 50 marks will be foreign NPV. So whatever NPV we have learned till now, that is obviously there. That is always obviously there. And in addition to that, we'll have 3 more adjustments. Okay, yes. So let us do the next part. Let us do the next part now. Okay. So first adjustment was very important, having conversion rate for each year. Now second adjustment will be your double tax avoidance agreement. Double tax avoidance agreement. Okay. So for example, so let us take 2 examples. Example 1. Okay. Home country is India. Home country is India, where tax rate is 33%, and counter country, that is foreign country, is UK, where tax is 30%. Now what will happen? Okay, when we calculate CFAT in UK, okay, when we calculate cash flow after tax in UK, we have paid tax of how much? We have paid tax of already 30% tax we already paid, correct? 30% tax we have already paid. Okay, so now in India, how much tax should we pay? Should we again pay 33%? So now in India, we will only pay differential tax. We'll only pay differential tax, that is 33% minus 30%. 33 minus 30. So we'll pay 3%. Okay. Okay. Surcharge, we are not considering surcharge in FM. Okay. Surcharge education says that all we are not going to consider in FM. Okay. We are just talking about basic taxes. Okay. So I think CA students are very fond of surcharge and education cess. Okay. So we are not talking about that over here. Okay, done. So that is your first example. Now, example 2. I'll change the example. Home country is India, where tax rate is 30%. Okay. And counter country is USA, where tax rate is 35%. Okay. So when we calculate CFAT in USA, we have paid at what? We have paid tax at 35%. We have paid tax at 35%. Okay. So now in India, what will happen? In India, should we pay any tax? So I'll give 3 options. In India, what should we do? We should pay additional tax, we should pay no tax, or we should ask for refund. No, there is no concept of refund in double tax avoidance agreement. Okay, even if you have paid higher tax in counter country. Okay, so now in India, you don't need to pay tax okay, but you will also not get any refund. Okay, so no tax in India. Okay, no refund. Huh? Since you are paid 35, since you are paid higher rate in USA, does not mean you will get 5% refund in India, not even carry forward. Okay, so no carry forward, no refund, that is lost. Correct, that is lost. The concept of double tax avoidance agreement is that you will have to pay tax at higher rate of the two countries. You'll have to pay tax at a higher rate of the two countries. Okay, so in first case, we had only paid 30% and higher rate was 33%. So we pay additional 3%. But in the second case, you have already paid at higher rate. So nothing will be done in India. Nothing will be done in India. Understood both the examples? Okay. So we cannot fight this. Huh? We cannot fight this. This is the rule. This is the rule of double tax avoidance agreement. Okay. It is an agreement between two governments. So we cannot fight that. Okay. Next. Now that's it. Double tax avoidance agreement was that much only. Double tax avoidance agreement was that much. Now the third is your intercompany transactions. Okay, this is also very important. This will be there in all your AFM questions. Okay, and don't get confused. Don't confuse this with your intercompany transactions of holding and subsidiary company. Yeah? That is in accounting. That is in accounting. We are not thinking from that point of view. We are thinking from financial management point of view. Okay, so intercompany transaction. First, let us write me example. Home country is India. Okay, project is taken under UK, and Indian company has some technical know-how, that is how to use the machinery. Indian company has some technical know-how which UK company wants to use. So Indian company gives this technical know-how for a certain amount of royalty. Obviously, no one will give it for free, right? So Indian company gives this technical know-how for a certain amount of royalty. So now pay attention. Huh? So this royalty will become expenditure for UK company. Yes or no? Because Indian company is giving technical know-how for a certain amount of royalty. Correct? So Indian company is charging royalty. So royalty will become expenditure for UK while calculating cash flow after tax. So while calculating CFAT, okay, after your fixed cost, so contribution minus fixed cost, PBDIT, after that first you will deduct the royalty. Okay, and now pay attention, guys. And the royalty will become income for Indian company. Royalty will become income for Indian company and has to be added in the converted amount. See if you understood this example. So royalty will become expenditure for UK company while calculating CFAT, and this royalty will become income for Indian company and has to be added in the converted amount. But since it is income, since it is income, what will happen? It will be liable for tax in India. At what rate? Should it be taxed at differential rate or should it be taxed at full rate? It will be taxed at full rate because royalty was not taxed in UK. If royalty was not taxed in UK, it will be taxed in India. It will be taxed in India at a full rate. Okay, read this third transaction and see if you understood it. Yes, both are same. See, even if both are same companies, they will be maintaining books of accounts in different countries. And if they are maintaining books of accounts in different countries, they are liable to tax of different countries. And that is why we'll have to show it. Like your holding and subsidiary company, you cannot just minus intercompany transactions, huh? Because in holding and subsidiary company, we are not thinking from tax point of view, we are thinking from shareholders point of view. Okay, here we are going to think how much tax we have to pay. Here we are going to think how much tax we have to pay. Okay, so even if both are part of the same company, both will have to pay taxes in different countries at different rates. That's why both of them will have to show royalties separately in their books of accounts. UK company will show it as expenditure. Okay, expenditure is not taxed. An Indian company will show it as income, but income is taxed, and that income will be taxed at full rate. See if you understood this. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This is the thing I'm saying, that it is, you are not thinking from parent company, you are not thinking from parent company and subsidiary company point of view. Okay, you should not think from parent company and subsidiary company's point of view. Okay, because even though they are part of the same company, they will always have what, they will always have different tax provisions in their different respective countries. Okay, so for financial point of view, we are thinking from profit after tax. So for profit after tax, you have to take into consideration the tax adjustments. Okay, accounting will be same like you show in your books of accounts. Intercompany adjustment will be deducted from both sides. That will be same. Okay, but for tax purpose we have to do this. Done. Understood intercompany transaction. So in foreign NPV we have to take care of three things. In foreign, yes, IFRS will allow that. See guys, IFRS will always be, it will always be read along with income tax provisions, right? Okay, what is my main concern? My main concern is not IFRS. My main concern is my income tax department of the country. Correct. If it is one company, it has to pay tax on global income. Okay, that is the correct concept. Okay, always they will pay tax on global income. And see now, see, even if I am paying tax in UK, in India I am not paying again 33%, right? In India I am only paying the remaining 3%. Okay, so I am always concerned what that specific country's income tax provisions will be. Okay, so sometimes what happens, I'll tell you a simple example. You guys already know this concept. Sometimes rules of accounting are different and rules of income tax are different. Simple example is depreciation. Okay, as per accounting I can do depreciation in any way, straight line method or WDV. Correct. In accounting I can follow either straight line method or WDV, so I can choose between the two methods. Okay, but as per income tax provisions, straight line method is not allowed only. Okay, income tax act does not allow straight line method. Income tax method only allows WDV. So now while doing the accounting, even if I have a choice between SLM and WDV, what should I do? I should follow WDV because income tax eventually will follow WDV. So here we are doing that concept. Okay, IFRS allows all of this. Okay, IFRS allows me any option that I want to choose. Correct, but I will choose that option which is what, which is in line with my country's tax provision. That is how you think from real life point of view. Okay, otherwise there will be difference between accounting and difference between tax, and that concept you have done, that is called as your deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability. So if you guys don't want deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability in your company's books of accounts, it is always better to follow IFRS, follow accounting in such a way which is in line with your income tax provisions. Okay. See if all of this is clear. And all this, you know, you will get to learn all this in your internship. Okay. Here it is only theoretical knowledge. Here it is only theoretical knowledge. That's why you guys are getting confused that why IFRS, why we should not follow IFRS and why we should follow tax provision. Correct. We are following IFRS. Obviously, we are following IFRS, but we are following IFRS in such a way that there is no difference with income tax provisions. Substance over form. You have read this, right? Substance over form. So in reality, we'll always have substance over form. Okay. So I hope all these three adjustments are clear. What is the first adjustment? Conversion of spot rate. Correct. What was the second adjustment? Double tax avoidance agreement. And the third adjustment is your intercompany transaction. So now guys, pay attention. Huh? I'll give you a simple example. I'll give you only 1 year example. Okay. And you will tell me the answer. It is a simple example, but it will be a little bit tricky. Okay. So think about it properly and then tell me the answer. Okay. So Indian company started a project in USA where it earned contribution of $450 million. $450 million. It earned contribution of $450 million. Fixed cost was $25 million. Okay. Depreciation was $30 million. Okay. Tax rate in USA was 30%. Okay. Tax rate in India is 35%. I'm taking a hypothetical example. USA tax is greater. USA tax is greater than India. Okay. Then current spot rate is let us check current spot rate and I'll give it in a different way. Current spot rate is 1 rupee is equal to 0.131 dollars. Okay. Generally, see, we have our rate as what $1 equal to so and so rupee, but sometimes they can give it this way also. Current spot rate is 1 rupee equal to so and so dollars. Indian company also charged royalty to US company of $10 million. $10 million. Okay. Calculate the final cash flow in hands of Indian company in rupees. Post means after all tax adjustments. Do it. Let us see if you can do it. It is very simple. Just think about it and do it. Yes, are you guys trying this? Or just sitting there looking at the screen? Okay, 254.25. I don't want in dollars. I want final cash flow in hands of Indian company in rupees after all tax adjustments. 294. Is it in rupees, Amal? 294 million rupees. Okay. Sure. $19,408 million rupees. Okay. Let us check then. Let us check. I hope others are also trying it. Okay. So let us start. So we'll start with what? We'll start with our cash flows in USA, correct? We'll start with our cash flows in USA. Now pay attention. This is very important. So guys, pay attention. So I'll start with cash flow in dollars. Okay. So first is what? First is contribution. I don't need to start with sales. So how much is the contribution? So let us write this in $1,000,000. In $1,000,000. Okay. In millions, because later on we'll convert into rupees, right? So in millions. Okay. Nathan, your answer is in million rupees, is it? Okay. So contribution is 450 million. Contribution is 450 million. So contribution less fixed cost. How much is the fixed cost? Fixed cost is 25 million, correct? So minus 25. Now guys, pay attention. Now before you go for PBDIT, less what I'll do, less that intercompany transaction also I'll have to do, because royalties and income for India means it is an expenditure for US company. So royalties, how much? Royalties 10. Okay, see if you understood this. Indian company has charged royalty to to US company. So for US company it will be expenses, for Indian company it will be income. Therefore PBDIT, profit before depreciation, interest and tax, how much that is? 415, correct? That will be 415 million. Okay, less depreciation, how much is the depreciation? 30 million. So minus 30. Okay, so what I'll get PBIT or PBT, because there is no interest. So that is 415 minus 30. So 385 is the PBT. Less tax. Tax, we are in USA, huh? Right now we are in USA. So tax at US rate will take, correct? Tax at US rate. What is the US rate? 30%. 30%. So that will be 385 into 30%, 115. Therefore, what we'll get? We'll get the PAT. PAT will be 385 minus tax. Add back depreciation. Okay, so add back depreciation. Depreciation was 30. Correct. So my cash flow after tax in dollars, CFT in dollars will be what? 269.5 plus 30. 299.5. Okay. See if you understood till here. So only one change was there. Till here there was only one change. That was what? That was your normal royalty. That was your royalty. No other change as such. Okay, next. Once you have got CFT in dollars, now what you will do? Convert in rupees using spot rate. Using the spot rate. Okay, so what is the spot rate? Spot rate is 1 rupee equal to 0.0131 dollars. Correct. So how many rupees for 299.5 dollars? Correct. So how many rupees for 299.5 dollars? So that will be what? 299 into 1 divided by that amount. Correct. 0.0131. So cash flow in INR will be divided by this. 22862 will be cash flow in Indian rupees. Now guys, pay attention, huh? Immediately what I'll do, I'll add royalty, because royalty will be an income in India. Correct. So how much was the royalty? Royalty was $10 million, but I don't want in dollars. I want in what? I want in rupees. So 10 million divided by 0.0131. So royalty is 63 million. We'll take tax, but tax will be taken later, right? First let us get the total income. Then we'll take the tax. Okay, understood this? Royalty was 10 million dollars, correct? Converted at what? Converted at spot rate. So that is 10 million divided by 0.0131. See if everyone has understood this? Okay. Now, therefore, what I'll get? Therefore, I'll get cash flows before tax in India. Okay, so I'll get cash flows before tax in India. Okay. So how much is the cash flows before tax in India? That will be this amount plus this amount. Now, less tax. But guys, pay attention. Huh? I will do this tax in two different ways. I'll do this tax in two different ways. One is your differential tax, correct? And second will be your tax on royalty, because tax on royalty will be at entire rate. So tax on royalty will be at entire rate of 35% because it was never taxed before. Royalty was not taxed before in UK. So in India, it will be taxed at the entire 35%. Whereas the other thing will be taxed only at differential rate of 5%. So if you understood this part. Okay, so let us do the simple part first. Tax on royalty. Tax on royalty will be what? Royalty income into 35%. 35%. That will be your tax on royalty. So tax on royalty income. Correct. Now this is the most important part in double tax avoidance. Huh? Now everyone pay attention. Differential tax is 5%. 5% of what amount? 5% of what amount? Should I take 5% of 23,625? Should I take 5% of 22,862? Or 5% of what amount? No, then what? 5% of what amount? So 5% of 22,862. Now guys, pay attention. Huh? Guys, pay attention. This is the most important part. Tax is always calculated on which amount? Tax is always calculated on PBT, right? Tax is always calculated on PBT. So this 5%, should also be on PBT, correct? So PBT 385, this 385, guys pay attention, this 385 was taxed at 30%, right? This 385 was taxed at 30%, and this 385 should have been taxed at 35%. So differential tax 5% will not be on cash flows in INR, okay? This differential tax of 5% on PBT, but PBT is in US dollars. So PBT converted in INR. Correct. So that will be, now see what I'm doing. 5% into what? PBT. PBT is what? 385. Correct. But that will give me, correct. That will give me what? That will give me the tax amount in US dollars. That will give me the tax amount in US dollars divided by what? Divided by spot rate 0.0131. See if I understood. See if everyone has understood this. Huh? This is very important. Differential tax rate. Don't take 5%. Don't take 5% on cash flow in rupees. Okay, because this is after tax amount. Tax is always calculated on PBT. But the problem here was PBT is $385 million. So I'll convert $385 million into rupees by using the spot rate and 5% of that amount. Correct. So I can put the bracket here also, no problem. I can put the bracket here also. It gives the same amount. So 385 divided by spot rate, that will give me PBT in Indian rupees into 5%. See if everyone has understood this. And therefore, what I'll get? Finally, I'll get net cash flow after tax in Indian national rupees. So that will be before tax minus first tax minus second tax. So 21,889 should be my net cash flow after tax. See if you have understood everything. If you have any doubt, I can explain it once again. This is very important. Anyone has any doubt, put in the chat box. Anyone has any doubt, put in the chat box. I can explain it once again. The doubt is, would we be asked to do this for all the years? Yes, obviously. That's why it will be a AFM section A 50 marks question. In 50 marks question, you will be required to do this for all the years, not just for the current year. Okay. Do you think scoring 50 marks will be easy? It will take a lot of efforts. See, it will not be difficult. It will be a lengthy problem. Okay, it will not be difficult. Concept will remain same. Concept will remain same. Okay, but it will be for all the years. That's why I said, let me take just 1 year today. Today we are only focusing on first year. Yes, I'll share this Excel sheet. Don't worry, I'll share this Excel sheet. Felix, what do you want? What do you want to be explained once again? Tell me. I'll explain that. So I'll just explain it again from tax part. So once you convert, once you can CF till CFT, everything is clear. Once you convert CFAT, use spot rate, use the current spot rate and convert CFAT of dollars into CFAT of INR. Okay. Once you convert that, add a royalty income. Royalty was an expenses for US company, so it becomes an income for Indian company. Correct? Royalty was expenses for Indian company, so it has become income for Indian company. But royalty was $10 million, so I'll convert $10 million at spot rate. So that will be 10 million divided by 0.0131. So that will give me royalty in rupees. Now that will give me what? That will give me total cash flow before tax in India. That will give me total cash flow before tax in India. Cash flow in INR plus royalty in INR. Now I want to tax. So I will do taxation differently. Yeah? Always do taxation in India differently. Tax in home country, always do it separate. Royalty tax will be at entire 35%. Royalty tax will be at entire 35%. Why? Because royalty was never taxed in UK. Royalty was an expense in UK. It was not taxed in UK. So in India, it will be taxed at the entire 35%. So I'll take 763. Correct, this amount 763 into 35%. That will be taxed on royalty. And then comes that important part, differential tax of 5%. Why? Because UK tax was 30%, Indian tax was 35%. So differential tax is 5%. But tax is always on PBT. So what was my PBT? Don't take tax on this amount. Tax is always on PBT. So my PBT was 385. PBT was 385. But 385 was in dollars. So I want what? I want 385 in rupees. So what I did? 385 divided by spot rate gives me PBT in rupees. 385 divided by spot rate gives me PBT in rupees. And on that PBT in rupees, I will tax at 5%. Okay. So net cash flow after tax will be what? Before tax minus two taxes use me after tax. See if this is understood now. Translation gain will not be counted for taxation purpose because translation gain, I'll show it separately. Correct? I'll show it separately in my P&L OCR. Translation gain, I'll show it in my P&L and OCI. Okay, so it will be shown in OCI, it will not be shown over here. Okay, so I think that that's enough for today. Okay, because you guys first what you do now, tomorrow, oh sorry, today what you guys do, I'll send this Excel sheet. Okay, I'll send this Excel sheet. So what you guys do is see the Excel sheet, complete, see the entire problem today. Okay, and then tomorrow we'll start with the actual foreign NPV sum. Okay, who is driving Ray in the middle of the class? Kalyan Ramesh. Okay. So that's it for today. Revise this foreign NPV, and tomorrow we'll do a foreign NPV sum. Okay, have you asked about tomorrow? Are we having a class tomorrow? Are we having a class tomorrow? If you're not asked right now, then message me on the group. Message me on the group. Tomorrow is also Maharashtra Day. Tomorrow is also Maharashtra Day, 1st May. We don't celebrate it as such. So let me know on the group. Meanwhile, I'll send the Excel sheets. Okay. So I'll end the meeting now. I'll be ending the meeting now. See you tomorrow.